Welcome, curious minds, to the deep dive. Have you ever stopped to think about how incredibly precise your body is? I mean, far beyond just pumping blood everywhere.
It's really not just a general hose system, is it?
No, it's this sophisticated network of tailored delivery, making sure every single organ gets exactly what it needs, precisely when it needs it.
That's right. Today we're taking a deep dive into what we call special circulations. While you might typically think of blood flow as a sort of uniform process.
Yeah, just blood going around.
Exactly. But each organ has unique demands, and its own special circulatory adaptations have evolved to meet those needs and maintain overall body homeostasis, especially, during stress.
So our mission today is to unpack the incredible circulations of the brain, the heart, skeletal muscle, the abdominal viscera, and the skin.
And we're drawing our insights from the Medical Physiology text by Boron and Boulpaep, really trying to break down these complex, sometimes dense concepts.
Right, into understandable conversational nuggets that you can truly grasp. The core idea here is that your body is constantly making these sophisticated compromises and adjustments. Distributing blood flow efficiently, almost like a master conductor.
It really is a marvel of biological engineering. Maybe let's start with the necessity of variation.
Okay.
Blood flow to each tissue has to meet its specific nutritional needs, right? But it also has to allow those cells to contribute to your whole body homeostasis. So that requires an incredibly flexible distribution system.
Like, think about what happens when you exercise. Your active skeletal muscles, your heart, even your skin needing to get rid of heat. They need a huge increase in blood flow.
A dramatic increase, yeah. But what about everywhere else? How does your body manage that?
Right.
Well, simultaneously, blood flow decreases to less active areas. Think your digestive system, your kidneys, all while preserving that critical, absolutely non-negotiable blood flow to your brain.
It's a constant balancing act.
A very sophisticated one. And this remarkable distribution is achieved through basically 4 primary mechanisms governing vascular resistance.
Okay, 4 mechanisms.
Yeah. Neural, myogenic, metabolic, and endothelial mechanisms, and the importance of each. It varies dramatically depending on the organ.
So how do these work? Let's start with neural.
Okay. Your neural mechanisms are driven by your autonomic nervous system, especially the sympathetic division. Think of it like a global dimmer switch.
Controlling overall blood pressure, cardiac output.
Exactly, and influencing local flow, too. Then you have myogenic mechanisms. This is clever.
Oh, yeah.
The muscle cells in arteries and arterioles have this sort of built-in pressure sensor. If the blood pressure inside them goes up, they automatically tighten up.
Protecting the tissues downstream.
Precisely, restricting flow. And if pressure drops, they relax. It's this self-regulation, auto-regulation that's essential in organs like your brain and your heart.
It makes sense. And what about the actual needs of the tissue itself, the metabolic side?
Right. That's where metabolic mechanisms come in. Blood vessels are highly sensitive to the local demands of the surrounding cells, the parenchyma.
So if cells are working hard, needing more oxygen,
They release chemical signals, things like adenosine or potassium ions, maybe lower pH. These signals trigger the local blood vessels to widen, to vasodilate.
increasing blood flow exactly where it's needed, like in exercising muscles or the heart.
Exactly. And finally, endothelial mechanisms. The inner lining of your blood vessels, the endothelial cells, they're not just passive tubes.
They're active.
Very active, mini factories. When blood flows quickly, the friction, the sheer stress, stimulates them to release substances like nitric oxide.
NO, the vasodilator.
A powerful one, yeah. Helps blood vessels relax and widen. So these 4 mechanisms, they all work together in this sophisticated feedback system, often communicating through tiny connections called gap junctions, coordinating everything.
And sometimes it's simpler than that, like physical force.
Yeah, sometimes it's just mechanical forces. When your muscles contract, especially in your heart or skeletal muscle, they can literally squeeze the blood vessel shut, temporarily halting flow. It's a powerful direct effect.
Okay, fascinating. Let's unpack one of the most demanding circulations now, the brains.
The brain. Critical.
Imagine this tiny tyrant in your head, right? Weighing only about 2% of your body, but it demands a whopping 15% of your resting blood supply.
That's huge. And it highlights how absolutely non-negotiable its needs are.
Absolutely. Even a few seconds without blood flow can cause unconsciousness. A few minutes, irreversible damage.
And it relies entirely on glucose for energy. Burns through about 100 grams every single day. Needs that constant supply.
So to protect this vital organ, the brain's arterial supply is It's a remarkable network.
It really is. Blood enters through 4 main arteries, 2 internal carotids in front, 2 vertebrals in the back of your neck.
Okay.
And these all feed into this crucial safety net at the base of your brain. It's called the Circle of Willis.
The Circle of Willis. Like a roundabout?
Exactly like a roundabout. It's protective. It allows blood to be redirected if one of the main supply lines gets blocked or narrowed, provides collateral flow.
Clever. So we've seen how blood gets in and out, but the brain is so delicate. How does it control what actually gets into its environment from the blood?
Ah, that's the blood-brain barrier, the BBB.
The famous BBB.
Yeah.
Not just a wall, right?
No, not at all. It's a highly selective filter. It prevents most substances floating around in your bloodstream from directly accessing the brain's delicate extracellular fluid.
Which is why a lot of common medications just don't affect the brain.
Precisely. Only very small molecules like water, oxygen, CO2, they diffuse readily. Glucose needs a special transporter. This barrier protects your brain from sudden shifts in blood composition.
And clinically.
Well, clinically, if this barrier gets damaged, say, by injury, infection, or tumor substances that are normally excluded can sneak in, which, interestingly, can help doctors identify the location of brain tumor using certain tracer dyes that wouldn't normally cross.
Okay. And what about the skull? It's a rigid box.
Right, the cranium is fixed. This means the total volume inside for your brain tissue, its blood vessels, and the cerebrospinal fluid is constant. It can't really expand.
So if blood vessels in one area dilate and take up more space,
Then something else has to give. Other areas must reduce their volume, maybe CSF shifts, or the pressure inside the skull, the intracranial pressure, will dangerously rise.
which leads to the Cushing reflex.
Yes, the Cushing reflex. This is a critical sort of last-ditch effort by the brain. If intracranial pressure climbs too high, maybe from swelling or bleeding.
It squeezes the brain's blood vessels.
Exactly. It can compress them, restricting blood flow. So the brain signals the body, specifically the vasomotor centers in the medulla, to drastically increase systemic arterial blood pressure,
A huge spike in blood pressure. Why?
to try and force blood through those compressed cerebral vessels, to restore flow to the brain itself, even at the expense of potentially damaging other organs with that high pressure. It's trying to prevent brain ischemia.
Incredible. And despite all this, the brain maintains pretty stable blood flow, right? Autoregulation.
Remarkably stable, yes. Average flow is about 50 milliliters per minute per 100 grams of brain tissue. And autoregulation keeps this flow nearly constant across a wide range of systemic blood pressures, usually between about 70 and 150 millimeters of mercury.
How does it manage that so effectively? Is it the nerves?
Well, the nervous system does play a role. Sympathetic and parasympathetic nerves innervate cerebral vessels, but it's relatively weak compared to the main driver,
Which is?
the brain's own metabolic needs. This is the primary governor. When neurons are active, they break down ATP, their energy currency, and this process releases adenosine.
Adenosine again, the vasodilator.
A very potent one in the brain, yes.
Hmm.
It widens local blood vessels right where the activity is happening. Also, if oxygen levels drop or carbon dioxide levels rise or the pH in the brain's fluid lowers, all these trigger vasodilation.
Like with hyperventilating.
Exactly. When you hyperventilate, you blow off CO2 rapidly. This makes your blood, and subsequently your brain fluid, less acidic, so the pH rises.
And that causes vasoconstriction.
Yes, cerebral vasoconstriction. Decreased blood flow, which is why you might feel dizzy or lightheaded. Clinically, controlled hyperventilation can be used temporarily to reduce brain swelling by constricting those vessels.
All right. Let's pivot to the heart. Your dedicated power supply and its coronary circulation.
A powerhouse.
Less than 0.5% of body weight, but it gets about 5% of your resting cardiac output. That's impressive.
It's working constantly, almost entirely reliant on burning fuels through oxidation, mainly fatty acids, actually, over 60%.
But it can cope briefly without oxygen.
It has a very limited anaerobic capacity. It can release lactate when oxygen is low, allowing it to function briefly without enough O2, but this can't last long at all.
And if that hypoxia happens in the heart muscle,
That's when you can get the referred pain we know as angina pectoris. If the lack of oxygen is more severe or lasts longer, it leads to myocardial infarction, heart attack, tissue death.
where does the blood supply actually come from?
Directly from the aorta, right near the aortic valve. The right and left coronary arteries branch off almost immediately. The left one quickly divides again into 2 major branches, the left anterior descending and the circumflex.
And the capillary density.
It's astonishingly high, over 3,000 capillaries per square millimeter, much denser than skeletal muscle. It's designed for incredibly efficient oxygen diffusion into those small, constantly working cardiac muscle fibers.
Okay, but what's really unique about the coronary circulation is this extravascular compression thing.
Yes, extravascular compression. Unlike other organs, your heart muscle actually squeezes down on its own blood vessels as it contracts.
Especially the left ventricle.
Especially the left ventricle, yes, because it generates such high pressure during systole. The contraction is so strong that blood flow in the left coronary artery can actually reverse transiently in early systole.
So when does the left side get most of its blood flow?
During diastole, when the ventricles relax, aortic pressure is still relatively high then, and the compression is gone, allowing maximal perfusion. About 80% of total left coronary flow happens during diastole.
Okay, so clinically this means tachycardia, a really high heart rate, is bad news.
Potentially very dangerous, yes, especially for someone with underlying coronary artery disease. Tachycardia shortens the diastolic period, the relaxation time.
Less time for that crucial left coronary filling.
Exactly. It minimizes the precious time for maximal perfusion, which can precipitate or worsen ischemia.
And what controls this flow? Is it nerves again?
Nerves play a role, but like the brain, the heart's blood flow is overwhelmingly dominated by metabolic control.
Oxygen demand.
Absolutely. There's a nearly linear relationship between myocardial oxygen consumption and coronary blood flow. And get this. At rest, your heart already extracts 70% to 80% of the oxygen delivered by the arterial blood.
Wow, that doesn't leave much reserve.
Very little. So when the heart needs more oxygen, like during exercise, it can't just extract more. It has to dramatically increase blood flow, often up to 250 milliliters per minute per 100 grams or even more.
And the key chemical signal for that?
Again, adenosine seems to be a key player, released in response to increased metabolic activity, insufficient flow, or low oxygen levels, causing potent vasodilation.
That's fascinating. And the body has a backup plan if an artery narrows slowly. Collaterals.
Yes, a vital protective mechanism. If a coronary artery narrows gradually over time, existing tiny collateral blood vessels can actually remodel and grow larger.
Forming new routes for blood.
Exactly. Creating alternative pathways that can partially compensate for the reduced flow from the main artery, helping to diminish tissue damage during ischemia.
But there's that weird thing with vasodilator drugs. Coronary steel.
Ah, yes, coronary steel. It's a potential issue. Say you have a significant blockage in one coronary artery. The tissue downstream might already be getting signals to maximally vasodilate its resistance vessels just to survive.
It's already wide open.
Right. Now, if you give a powerful vasodilator drug that affects all coronary vessels, it will dilate the vessels in the healthy, non-ischemic areas too.
Stealing blood flow from the area that needs it most.
Precisely. Blood takes the path of least resistance. So the drug can inadvertently divert or steal blood flow away from the already compromised, maximally dilated ischemic region towards the newly dilated healthy regions, potentially worsening the ischemia there. It's a tricky situation.
Okay. Let's switch gears again. Skeletal muscle. This seems like a system built for extremes.
It really is. The range of blood flow is incredible. At rest, maybe 5 to 10 milliliters per minute per 100 grams.
Pretty low.
Very low. But with maximal aerobic exercise, it can skyrocket 50-fold or even more, up to 250 millirelin per 100 grams. That shows this really tight coupling between muscle activity and oxygen consumption.
So how does it ramp up so quickly? Metabolism again.
Metabolic control is crucial, yes. When you start exercising, those active muscle fibers immediately release vasodilators, adenosine, CO2, potassium
The
ion.
usual suspects.
Pretty much. These relax the smooth muscle in the local arterioles, widening them. But it's not just the tiny vessels right next to the fibers.
It spreads.
It has to. This vasodilation signal actually ascends the resistance network. It propagates upstream from the smallest terminal arterioles to the larger feed arteries outside the muscle. You need coordinated dilation along the whole path to get that massive increase in flow.
And the nervous system. The sympathetic system must be involved during exercise.
Oh, absolutely. Your sympathetic nervous system cranks up during exercise. It causes vasoconstriction in many areas like your gut, kidneys, even inactive muscles to help maintain blood pressure and redirect flow.
But not in the active muscles.
Here's a clever part. In the active skeletal muscles, the local metabolic factors, the adenosine, the low pH, the potassium, are so powerful that they largely overcome the sympathetic vasoconstrictor signals.
They win the tug of war locally.
Exactly. It's sometimes called functional sympatholysis. The local need for blood overrides the general command to constrict, ensures the working muscles get the flow they desperately need.
And we can't forget the muscle pump.
Definitely not. The muscle pump is hugely important during rhythmic exercise like running or cycling.
How does it work again?
As your muscles contract, they squeeze the veins running through them, forcing the venous blood out. Crucially, the veins had one-way valves.
So the blood can only go towards the heart.
Right. Then, when the muscle relaxes, the veins open up, pressure drops inside them, which actually helps suck blood in from the capillaries, increasing the pressure gradient for flow.
So it's not just pushing blood out, it's pulling it in too.
In a way, yes. And this whole pumping action imparts significant kinetic energy to the blood. It actually reduces the workload on the heart. It's estimated the muscle pump can generate maybe up to half the energy needed for circulation during maximal exercise.
Wow. Okay, moving downstream, let's talk about the gut, the splanchnic circulation.
Right. This includes blood flow through your stomach, intestines, pancreas, spleen, and importantly, the liver, since the portal vein carries venous blood from most of these organs directly to the liver.
And inside the intestines, those little villi.
The villi, yeah, those finger-like projections that increase surface area for absorption, their microvascular setup is interesting, often described as a fountain. Arteriole goes up the middle, branches into capillaries, venule comes down, great for absorption.
But there's a catch. The countercurrent thing.
Yes, the countercurrent exchange. Because the arteriole going up and the venule coming down are so close together, especially at the villus tip, oxygen can diffuse directly from the arteriole to the venule if blood flow is slow.
Bypassing the very tip cells.
Exactly. Which means the cells right at the tip of the villus are inherently vulnerable to hypoxia, to low oxygen damage. If blood flow becomes compromised, it's a potential weak spot.
And after a meal, blood flow really ramps up.
Dramatically. Postprandial hyperammonemia. Blood flow to the GI tract can increase up to 8-fold after you eat, to maybe 250 millimin per 100 gram in some areas.
What drives that surge?
It's an integrated response. Partly anticipation from the brain, the cephalic phase, partly the metabolic activity of the gut lining doing active transport, using oxygen, releasing vasodilators. Also, nutrient absorption creates hyperosmolality locally, and various hormones and signaling molecules are released.
And this system plays a bigger role too, right? Resistance and reservoir.
Absolutely. The splanchnic circulation is a major site of adjustable resistance. During exercise, as we said, strong sympathetic constriction here shunts blood away towards muscles.
Which is why you might get cramps if you run right after eating.
Exactly, your body's prioritizing. And it's also a significant blood reservoir. Holds about 15% of your total blood volume, a lot of it in the liver and the venous plexuses.
So in an emergency like bleeding.
Sympathetic constriction of these capacitance vessels, especially in the liver, can rapidly mobilize maybe half of that volume, pushing it back into the central circulation, into the vena cava, helping to prop up arterial pressure during stress like hemorrhage or really intense exercise.
But prolonged low flow is bad news for the gut.
Very bad news. While it can tolerate temporary reductions by extracting more oxygen, extended periods of compromised flow cause irreversible damage.
Like after severe hemorrhage.
Yes, if there's sustained intense vasoconstriction, the gut lining, the mucosa can start to die and slow off, especially those vulnerable villus tips.
Leading to bigger problems.
Potentially huge problems. Barrier disruption can allow bacteria and toxins from the gut lumen to enter the bloodstream, potentially causing endotoxic shock and contributing to multiple organ failure. It's a serious complication.
And the liver itself is unique. Dual blood supply.
Very unique. It gets nearly a quarter of your resting cardiac output, but only about 25% of that inflow comes from the hepatic artery carrying oxygenated systemic blood.
The other 75%.
Comes from the portal vein. That's venous blood already passed through the stomach, intestines, spleen, pancreas. So it's nutrient rich from digestion, but relatively oxygen poor.
But the artery provides most of the oxygen.
Correct. The hepatic artery, despite its lower flow volume, delivers about 75% of the liver's oxygen supply. Both the artery and portal vein feed into the liver's unique capillaries, the sinusoids.
And this dual supply is important clinically. Portal hypertension.
Critically important. Portal hypertension is a major issue, often caused by cirrhosis, where scarring in the liver increases resistance to blood flow through it, particularly blocking portal venous flow.
So pressure backs up in the portal vein.
Exactly. Pressure backs up through the whole splanchnic system. This can lead to fluid leaking out into the abdominal cavity, causing ascites.
And those dangerous esophageal varices.
Yes. The high portal pressure forces blood into alternative, smaller collateral venous pathways, where the portal system connects with the systemic circulation, like around the lower esophagus, the umbilicus, the rectum. These veins aren't designed for high pressure, so they dilate massively, forming esophageal varices, which are fragile and prone to rupture. Life-threatening hemorrhage is a major risk.
Okay. Last up,
Hmm.
the skin, our largest organ.
Largest organ, yeah. Acts as a barrier, obviously. But its primary circulatory function beyond basic nutrition is really temperature regulation.
So it gets more blood than it strictly needs for metabolism.
Usually, yes. It's often overperfused relative to its metabolic needs, specifically to allow for heat exchange with the environment.
And there are different types of skin circulation, apical versus non-apical.
Right. We differentiate apical skin, think extremities like your nose, lips, ears, hands, feet, from non-apical skin covering the rest of your body, like your torso and limbs.
Apical skin has something special, AV anastomoses.
Exactly. Arteriovenous AV anastomoses, sometimes called glomus bodies. These are direct connections, like little shunts between arterioles and venules that completely bypass the capillary beds.
Why have those?
They are crucial for rapid, high-volume heat exchange. Think about warming up cold hands quickly. These shunts allow a large amount of warm blood to flow close to the surface to radiate heat, or, conversely, they can shut down to conserve heat.
And they're controlled by...
Almost exclusively by the sympathetic nervous system, not really by local metabolites. When your core temperature drops, sympathetic nerves fire more, releasing norepinephrine, causing these AV shunts to constrict strongly, reducing blood flow and conserving heat.
And then when you're hot.
Sympathetic tone decreases. The nerves fire less, leading to passive vasodilation of these shunts, allowing heat loss. There isn't really active vasodilation here. It's mostly about turning down the constriction.
Okay, what about non-apical skin, like on your arms or back?
Non-apical skin lacks those specialized AV shunts, and its sympathetic control is a bit different. It has the standard sympathetic nerves causing vasoconstriction via norepinephrine.
But also something else.
Yes, it also has sympathetic nerves that release acetylcholine, which causes vasodilation. This pathway is particularly important when you need to actively lose heat, like in a warm environment or during exercise.
Acetylcholine causing vasodilation.
The mechanism isn't perfectly clear, but it might involve acetylcholine stimulating sweat glands, which then release enzymes that produce local vasodilators like bradykinin. Or maybe there's co-release of other vasodilatory neurotransmitters directly acting on the blood vessels. It allows for active heat dumping.
Interesting. And finally, that weird skin scratch response. The triple response.
Yes, the triple response. If you give your skin a firm stroke or scratch, you can see a sequence. First, an immediate red reaction.
Just local redness where you scratch.
Right, likely due to histamine release causing local capillary and venule dilation. Then, surrounding that, a spreading redness appears, the flare reaction.
That's the nerve reflex.
That's the axon reflex, yeah. The stimulus travels up a sensory nerve fiber slightly, but then reflects back down a different collateral branch of the same nerve axon, causing release of vasodilators in the surrounding area, a purely local nerve loop.
Clever. And the third part.
If the stimulus is stronger, you get a wheal. Localized swelling, basically edema, caused by increased capillary permeability, again probably involving histamine. It replaces the initial red line and is surrounded by the flare.
Okay. So, wrapping this all up, we've covered a lot of ground.
We really have. From the brain's critical demands and protective mechanisms,
To the heart's unique flow patterns and metabolic drive.
the incredible adaptability of skeletal muscle with its pump and functional sympatholysis,
The gut's digestive surge, its reservoir function, and its vulnerability.
and the skin's specialized role in temperature control through those unique vascular structures.
It really highlights the incredible adaptability and precision of these special circulations.
Understanding these specific tailored systems is just fundamental. It's crucial for diagnosing and treating a huge range of clinical conditions, from stroke and heart attack to shock and heat stroke.
Every detail really underscores these sophisticated compromises and adjustments your body constantly makes. Distributing blood flow efficiently, maintaining homeostasis.
It's a constant dynamic balance.
So, a final thought to leave our listeners with. Considering these remarkable, organ-specific adaptations we've explored, what might be the next frontier in medicine for, say, optimizing blood flow to specific tissues, maybe in really challenging situations like organ transplants or severe trauma? Something to ponder.
Absolutely. And remember, you've just navigated a deep dive into some truly intricate but fascinating physiological systems. Mastering these concepts is absolutely within your reach.
Every step you take brings you closer to becoming that confident, well-informed medical professional.
You're part of the last minute lecture family, and you are definitely capable of mastering this material. Keep going.